Hi, I'm Scott for ediblemusic.com. Acoustic guitar is a critical instrument in all kinds of song styles and genres. One acoustic guitar can make a listener dance or cry or, I don't know, I guess those are the only two emotions that I know of. But mixing a guitar can be very tricky, and it can be especially difficult to find the right compressor settings in a way that complements the recorded sound rather than impacting it too much and potentially damaging it. I'll show you what I mean. Here's a compressor that I've brought up. It's just set to its default settings, and as I bring the threshold down, you'll notice that the nice resonant parts of the sound that come from the body of the guitar start to disappear. They start to be pressed down in a way that doesn't help them out very much. Doesn't sound right, does it? In sparse arrangements like this, where the acoustic guitar is the main instrument, it's important to treat it pretty delicately in order to maintain the integrity of the recorded sound. When we're working with a compressor on an acoustic guitar, we're focusing on two different things. One is the rhythmic component, or the attack of the pick or fingers on the strings. And then we've also got the nice resonant part that comes from the guitar, which is what makes an acoustic guitar what it is. So we want to make sure that we can keep it intact. So let me show you some ways to approach compressing acoustic guitars that will do that for you, that will help the sound rather than, have to change it or destroy it even. One suggestion that I would give right away is to lower your ratio to something like 2.5. That is a very nice and easy ratio so that the moves that you make with your attack and your release times and your threshold settings won't impact the sound too much, but will impact it enough for you to be able to notice and make it the needed adjustments. So start with a low ratio, a slow attack, very slow, and a very fast release. And I'm going to aim for about 3 dB of gain reduction. So this is just a general setting to start out, but let's bring the threshold down so that it starts to engage. And we're aiming for about 3. And it's okay if it's sometimes a little bit over, sometimes a little bit less. The musician who recorded it is not a robot, so it's going to have a little bit of variation, but this is a very well recorded guitar part, so for the most part we're going to be able to get in there pretty consistently at around 3 dB of gain reduction. Now let's work on moving our attack a little bit closer, and as we shorten the attack time, it's going to start to come up near to the attack of the strums on the strings, and you'll hear them emphasized more as we bring the attack up. Of course, as you bring the attack forward, it's going to be listening to more of the sound that comes because those string hits are the loudest parts. So it's going to compress those more. But if we bring it back to around 3, and then let's listen to it with the compressor off. And then I'll turn it back on again. So it's pushing the percussive part of the guitar, the string hits, a little bit closer towards the listener there. But I'm going to leave it at a pretty slow setting here. Now let's look at our release time. And often leaving it at a fast release time is a great idea because, again, the release time is part of the reason why the the harmonic elements of the guitar will be stamped down too much. But depending upon the tempo and the style of play, you can adjust it a little bit. That sounds pretty good. Now, a lot of compressors have internal sidechains that you can use, and I'll show you how to use this one here on this plugin. What an internal sidechain does is, if you were to imagine the compressor as an ear that is listening to the incoming signal, if you apply a filter to it, then here, for example, it is set to 30 at its lowest. So all the sound will come into the compressor except for everything 30 and below, which will just be able to scoot right past it. So only whatever is above those frequencies will be affected by the compressor, which can be a really useful way, a useful additional way to affect the resonance of the acoustic guitar. Let's push this in. And as I bring it up, you'll notice the relationship between the resonance and the strums changes a little bit. I kind of liked it down here, so I'll leave it there. And now that we have this engaged, the compressor is reacting to a different part of the sound. So we could potentially increase our release time. Together with our adjustment of the internal sidechain, so that more of the bottom part of the sound, the lower frequencies of the sound, can carry through the compressor without being affected. But we can also use the release and time it in a way that helps the harmonics from the strings carry forward in a nice and dynamic way. And I think that sounds not bad. So this is, there are of course a lot of different ways to apply compression to an acoustic guitar, but for a sparse arrangement like this, a sure bet is to start with a low ratio. Say here I'm gonna leave it at 2.5. You can play around with it though, and that will emphasize the attack more or less. Again, there are a lot of different ways to do it though, and maybe I'll talk about some of the other ways in another conversation, another time, where you might want to be thinking about how to fit an acoustic guitar into a more dense arrangement. But start with a slower ratio, 2, 2.5, or 3, a slow attack, a fast release. Bring the threshold down so that you're getting about 3 dB of gain reduction. Plug it in and out to see how it compares with the original sound. But this is a way to sort of just shape it a little bit and finesse the acoustic guitar rather than really clamp onto it with the compressor. Then you will be able to make adjustments in accordance with the part, but you've always got those settings to come back to if you've gone too far. That you don't need to worry about it too much. If you have it in your head, okay, 2.5, to 1 as a ratio, no problem. I can come back to that if I'm making a mistake and then line it up again. Now, compression on an acoustic guitar is just one part of mixing it, but I think now it's set up for a little bit of EQ if you wanted, some chorus, some reverb, and acoustic guitars in particular are, of course, just one part of mixing. So if you're just getting started and you'd like to get a good sense of the foundation of mixing, from EQ to compression to my favorite, which is saturation, delay, and reverb, I developed a 5-day email course that'll come straight to your inbox with so much information. You will be maybe a little bit overwhelmed, but you'll find it all very, very useful. It's very well organized, and it'll get you set on a really great path to making great mixes. Sign up for that at ediblemusic.com/5days.